We spend our entire lives fighting sleep. We drink coffee to avoid it, work late to delay it, and treat our need to lie unconscious in a dark room as a massive biological inconvenience. So imagine opening your eyes one morning and realizing you simply don't feel tired anymore. Your heavy eyelids are gone, the afternoon crashes have vanished. You remain perfectly clear, alert, and entirely awake. One night passes, then 3, then a week. You physically cannot cross the bridge into sleep. When doctors connect sensors to your brain, they find zero evidence of REM cycles, no deep sleep, no dreaming. The biological switch has simply vanished. Removing the need for rest seems like a permanent efficiency gain. However, disabling this off switch also disables the only mechanism the brain has to prevent its own biological collapse. The first week feels like a gift. You suddenly have 8 extra hours every single day. You learn a new language, finish projects months ahead of schedule, and arrive at every meeting with a level of focus that leaves your coworkers stunned. The rest of the world watches with envy. Corporations begin dreaming of workers who never stop. Militaries envision soldiers who can fight endlessly. A 24-hour global workforce suddenly seems within reach. But while your outward focus stays sharp, the biological maintenance that usually happens during sleep stops entirely. Within a healthy brain, cells use the hours of rest to repair damaged DNA and rebalance the hormones that regulate human mood. Every night, the brain sends out repair crews to maintain the physical tissue that keeps you alive. Yours have just permanently vanished. Without those repair crews, the damage starts invisibly. Normally, sleep triggers a highly efficient sanitation process within the neural pathways. As you sleep, microscopic waste particles, specifically damaged proteins, are actively flushed out of your neural pathways. By week 5 of zero sleep, this flushing halts completely. The garbage piles up, clumping into toxic blockages inside your neurons. You might still be walking around with a normal smile, but the early appearance of health was an illusion. Your brain is quietly and irreversibly suffocating in its own cellular waste. As the months pass, cognition declines. You forget why you entered rooms. You lose words mid-sentence. Simple math becomes strangely difficult, and a heavy mental fog settles over everything you do. Looking at this brain activity map, the reason is clear. On the left, a healthy waking brain. On the right, your sleep-deprived brain shows harsh spikes of erratic activity. Certain regions are desperately overworking to simulate a resting state, while you remain fully conscious. Then the structure of reality starts cracking apart. Shadows move in the corners of your eyes. Voices whisper when you're alone. Your brain is under so much pressure that the line between imagination and the real world dissolves completely. Scientists understand fragments of this progression through a highly rare medical condition called fatal familial insomnia, where patients gradually lose their ability to sleep. As the disease progresses, memory fades and emotions collapse. Eventually, the severe lack of sleep causes the body's internal regulatory systems to shut down entirely, leading almost exclusively to death. The absence of sleep forces the brain to cannibalize its own regulatory systems, effectively dismantling your ability to distinguish what's real from what's imagined. After a year awake, a secondary loss occurs. You stop remembering your dreams because your dreams no longer exist. Dreams help the brain process complex emotions, strengthen forming memories, and explore abstract situations safely. They are the fuel for human creativity. Without that nightly reset, you lose the ability to regulate your reactions. You snap at partners over minor mistakes and experience sudden, explosive rage during routine interactions. Over time, these unpredictable outbursts alienate the people closest to you, leaving you increasingly isolated exactly when you need support the most. Stripped of the abstract canvas of dreams, your mind becomes highly efficient and ruthlessly logical, but it loses the qualities that make it human. The earlier promise of a 24-hour productive society quickly falls apart. You can't double human progress by removing sleep, because without it, basic intelligence plummets, critical judgment weakens, and civilization slowly unravels. And then there is what happens to time itself. Without the boundary of night to break up the hours, your days blur together into one continuous, inescapable moment. You read journals you wrote just a few years ago, and they feel like they belong to a stranger. Because your mind hasn't had a chance to pause and reorganize, the person you used to be slowly vanishes. Sleep creates a necessary distance between the events of our lives. Without it, the distinction between who we were and who we are fades until the self becomes a blur of unending, unintegrated data. Tonight, millions of ordinary people will close their eyes without giving it a second thought, drifting peacefully into forgotten dreams. They will experience a daily mercy from life's difficulties, a quiet pause where the mind heals, reorganizes, and stitches the self back together for tomorrow. So the next time your eyelids grow heavy, don't view it as a biological weakness. Every dream you have is just your mind finding its way safely home.